45 minutes left in the trading session. Welcome back to the close. As you can see, Sean has taken the afternoon off. We wish him an enjoyable afternoon. Our friend Arun has joined us, stepped in to take us through the rest of the day. And a busy one it's going to be, guys. We have a few things to talk about. To start off with, I mean, overall, the market kind of choppy, not really doing anything. Arun can comment on that in a second here, but I want to talk about Lordstown. So initially, they had no money, and then they come out and they say, wait, no, we have money. And now they're coming out and saying, not only do we have money, but we also have firm orders on products to be delivered by the end of this year.
Yeah, apparently. So, look, the ride continues in Lordstown Motors. I'm not going to say the ride continues in ride, guys. It's too early in the broadcast for me to go with the horrible puns. But I'm actually about to get stopped. Well, maybe not. I actually was about to get stopped out. I actually had a 1025 there. Look, it popped up when this news came just after 1 o'clock. You're going to get it like 940 up to like 1060. Put in a couple lower highs. I shorted into VWAP once. I tried doing it here again. Looks like I might get stopped out. I'm going to go with a tight stop because I think this could maybe test back towards 1060. You just got to keep in mind where this thing has come from, right? Like if this was up around 14 or 15 bucks, I'd probably be digging into a short position, but I'd rather go with the tight stop here and scalping it out. Arun and I got to be flat at the end of the day. It's good to be able to talk about some futures because, of course, we got the Fed tomorrow, Arun, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you're looking forward to. Should be an exciting 45 minutes into the close, buddy.
Yeah, a lot would happen towards the close. Keep in mind, today would be the last close before a Fed meeting. So you're going to have a lot of people making a lot of moves, trying to anticipate what the Fed is going to do based on all the information they have done, and the research that they have done. So I think the imbalance towards the end of the day could be a little bit larger than we're used to seeing in this climate right now. It's been fairly subdued for the last little bit. We might see a little pickup in activity. Keep in mind, of course, Friday, you're going to have a lot of rebalancing done between multiple indexes, and of course the Russell adjustments that are being done. So I do, before we get going, I do want to kind of show you guys that chart on RIDE. This is a 5-minute chart. This is today's action and also yesterday's action. If you're wondering why there's a gap in the middle, that's just the way our system kind of denotes inactivity for our server. That's about it. You're seeing a lot of sell-side activity up in the 1050s. Well, you go back to yesterday and you're getting that same kind of action around there in the pre-market yesterday. So it kind of makes sense why there's a lot of selling and it's backing off through here. So just be aware that if you are looking for longs, I think not even just taking the high, which was around 1064 or so, it's probably going to have to clear about 1090, call it 11 even, to kind of get through any sort of overhead resistance before we continue on. Now, a couple positions that I have taken, I've taken some trades throughout the day, but one position, and the only position that I'm actually holding on to at the moment, is Beyond Meat. I've got not Beyond Meat, DKNG, the popular one, Sean's favorite stock. Is it his favorite stock? Yeah, maybe it is. This one here, I got just above 48. I grabbed a long there after it kind of reversed through the early morning sell-off. Grabbed some 48s there, sat through it. I had my stop at 46, and I just cashed them out. It was starting to struggle here at 48.50. I had long at 11 o'clock, and I ended up getting out around 2 something. So I gave it a chance. I gave it a fair shake. It did not want to go immediately, so I kind of started to pair off some, and I've got a trail stop just below 50. If it comes through there, I'm just going to dump it all. And that's the only trade I've got. What I'm going to do for the rest of the show, though, is I'm going to go through some of the trades that I've taken today. There's been a lot of mistakes that I've also made today, so I'm going to kind of cover that just to help you guys out. If you guys can see some of the same mistakes that you're making, maybe we can figure out a solution. But before I get to that, though, futures, that's the other position I'm holding on to. I just realized that. Futures position, I've got 42.38 long with 42.20 stop. So the 2 positions, one long on DKNG and 1 long on the futures. Brendan?
NEO, guys, had a little pop there just before we came on. In fact, right at 3 o'clock, I'll show you why. That Electrek website, the EV-focused website, reporting it was 12 p.m. PT, which is 3 p.m. Eastern. The ES8 receiving approval for mass production in Europe. It looks to be the cause for that, guys.
I'm actually looking at NEO here in kind of a pullback, just because it had this higher low. Before even that news came out, you have like a 45 bottom. We talked about this in the morning show. I never got a trade in there, and then it made a higher low, 45.13. If it gets anywhere close to that quarter mark on a bit of a dip, I like to be able to defend that. So I'm going to go ahead and get that order thrown in. You might see one position, which is that bad boy. And we try to do the rocket ship whenever we got AMC on. Now, this was a bit of a battle, and someone was, I talked about getting out of AMC and sort of giving up the ghost and looking for a pullback on Twitter, and someone was like, yeah, you would have missed the boat or whatever it was. And I said, yeah, we're day trading, and we got to have the opportunity to get back into these things. And I thought it was going to give you one when it broke VWAP. So it did do so. I waited till like 59, took a couple of loads here, and then there was this level, and this is a pre-market bottom off of 57.50, where a lot of people were looking. And this is sort of like the learning experience where I'm getting a little bit better at this, where I look back to that 7 a.m. ramp price, right? Stops everyone out, or at least stops a lot of people out if they're only hunting at the opening range low at 57.50. I did take an entry point there, but I made sure I only had half the amount that I wanted, so that if it does stop people out, get that wick down, holds 57 even, which would be that the close price, then gives you a test at that 7 a.m. ramp. You go down maybe like 20 or 30 cents or so it holds that line. And then on the way back up, when it retakes 57, that's when I'm getting in bang, bang, bang. I scalp some of it out, then the rest, I got a bunch more out at 59.5. I'm still holding on to the last 20% of this position. I just want to be able to see if we can get back above VWAP. I know 60.50 has been some resistance on AMC here. So for now, you do have the cover of this 57 area, 55.5, which is a pre-market low. You go back into yesterday, by the way, as well, guys. That 55.5 was that afternoon bottom as well. So there is some cover if you're caught long this one. I know the break was ugly up here at the top at that 64, averaged into it, then got stopped out, got back in at a 60, in front of 61 here, got a little bit of a scalp win, but the real long was off of that bottom. So really, you try loading up on the bigger dip buys, those early morning breakouts. Hopefully we're getting a consolidation we can use here. One other one from the morning, Alf. Yeah, it's this one. It was a pretty good trade for me off the top here, but if there's a mistake that I made, you can it'll stick out in the chart, because if I'm going to short this off of a re-entry here at 650 when it fell at the high, when it comes back into 630, 640, I should have had this at about 1 o'clock. I don't get it until it breaks the bottom at 530. I get one nice move down, jump back into it, and get stopped out when it breaks 550. I'm like, that's ridiculous. The halt price in this top is a 570, so I'll just jump back in, use 570 as my out. So Alf to the short side's in the money. I still have that Lordstown, but it's not really doing a heck of a lot. Keeps on bouncing off this 25 and then bouncing off of VWAP. Last time I had it, it was able to get down to 990s. I'd like to target that 975 to 980 or 990 area for the last out. As always, though, with only about 35 minutes to go, I'll have to take profit where it lies if we get too close to that 1050 mark. So I'm really betting on AMC getting above and holding that 60 mark. If it gets down to that bottom, I'll probably take more shares into it. Outside of that, I want NEO to almost fall so I can get on the bid.
All right. Before I continue on, we'll go to Brendan and we'll come back.
Yeah, Canoe, guys. Just want to mention Go EV here going pretty good this afternoon. Volume still coming in. Just had an alert through 11 there. Looks to be the latest, possibly the latest addition to the Wall Street Bets crowd, guys. Go EV popping up on some rumors.
Yeah, if Sean was here, he'd be all over that. That's his game right there, the new stocks, right? For me, though, a couple trades that I'm going to update. One, DKNG, I just got out of. I told you guys here earlier. We got long just about 48, dumped some in front of 48.50, and then also dumped the rest as it broke through 48.50 just now. So I got out 45. 48.45 was my secondary exit. So I'm fully flat. The only position I've got left, futures long at 42.38. Now, a trade that I had taken this morning, which I had, made quite the mistake on in terms of management here, and hopefully this helps you guys out here. So I had gone short. This is a 5-minute chart on BYND, Beyond Meat. We broke through 50. I like the way it's set up on the long-term chart, the multi-day chart. We got through this little kind of trading range towards the latter half of the day yesterday. We broke underneath 150, so I went ahead and took the short. The stop was 152. So what did I do? First target was 148. Risk reward 1-to-1. I risked 2, try to get 2. I got it on the first half. I moved the trail stop on the remaining position way too close. I should have moved it above 150, but I had put it at 75, and as you can see here, that's me getting out right around 88 or so, I think, because the order slipped a little bit. And that thing continued $6. So in terms of management, guys, when you guys are taking your positions and you're trying to move your stops, just try to do your best in terms of putting it in a place where it needs to be, not where you would like it to be. Clearly, I was doing too many things, and I kind of just put it underneath 50. Not a smart decision. I've done that many times, and it's a mistake you're going to keep on making, but you do have to do your best to reduce it as much as you possibly can. As you can see here, this stock went another $6. Maybe you get around 144, 144.50. It's, you know, it's like $5 you could have made that you could have saved yourself there. And another trade that I had, same kind of concept here, went long just about on TRCH. This was a popular stock today. Got long just around 520. Where did I put the stop? 475. The low was like 473. As you can see, I got long here, got out here, and this thing took off to 6. So again, just be aware of your stops. Even though it's going to happen, accept it, but at the same time, do your best. Don't get too frustrated because it is part of trading. It's kind of how you learn where to put your stops, locations to find, things like that. Just be aware that it will happen, but you do have to kind of be aware and do your best to work on it as you get better as a trader. In reality, this is trading. Not all stocks are going to be super high flying. It's not always going to be AMC and GameStop all day, every day. I mean, if you are in those stocks, you're holding on, right? What's that?
Isn't it though? I mean, you kind of look, man, it kind of feels like, for the time being, yeah, okay, Arun's 100% right. Let's be honest about it. It's not going to be AMC all day, every day. You're going to see us trade it because it's moving here. And you made a good point. You made a really good point about like finding those stop levels and finding those high flyers. And I saw you go to the higher time frame in Lordstown and didn't do that on GoEV. So I just want to quickly jump over to that one because there was a move on the 8th. You already saw it push up, fail at 12, get through, and then fail to get to 1250. But if you look at that pullback support, that was at 1060. You had some chop at 1060. You're actually going to see my order sitting here at 1061, believe it or not. Didn't get this fill. It started pulling back in, but I always jumped to that higher time frame first. Now, maybe if I was more aggressive on this pullback, you might have seen me jump in at like 1075. And use that area as a stop, although I do prefer maybe using 1060 and giving it a little bit of extra space here on that pullback. It kind of stinks now because if you consolidate here and then it drops into this level, there's no way now I want to take this 1060 long. Like you're actually trying to catch that when it fades off the high, hoping to get that perfect spot so that you're taking advantage of this move happening right now. So real time, bit of a miss by me. If I was more aggressive in GoEV, and when in front of that 1060 level that we had here at like 60, I mean like 75, not maybe 80s, but you could have had that long. I'm still looking for a dip. I think it'll probably have to be like 1033. Otherwise, we'll go for a top break because above that 1130 range, like we're showing here, like there still is some cover to get to either of those rejection tops, like that 12 or that 1250. There's plenty of room from 1130 for you to be able to get there. So I don't really have a problem taking that breakout, especially given at this time of the day, every single trade is going to be sort of short-lived here. Like they're all very quick scalp trades, got to be out by the end of the day. So there are no, I guess, the AMC, like I'm not going to be the ape here, guys. I have no diamond hands. I don't have a choice. I'll be getting out of this position whether we break 60 or not. I'm hoping, of course, that we get the break of VWAP. We can push this to 62, maybe even 63, catch a $5 winner. But AMC languishing below that 60 mark. Brendo?
A few movers in the EV space this afternoon. Here's another one. Tesla. Back at 600, guys. We're right, sitting here actually at 600, down 2.8% today. But apparently their Texas Gigafactory very, very close to ready to go. Model Y spotted there today for Tesla, guys.
All right. Since we're talking about AMC, let's just bring it up. See what the action looks like in terms of just volume, or from what I can see anyways. So it looks like the way that it moved, as it moved to 63, you can see here there's a lot of action up here in terms of volume, right? 63 to 64 seems to be quite big in terms of sell-side activity. As we come back into the low 60s, obviously it's going to get support from the 58 level, which was strong pre-market. You get a lot of action around that 58, 59 through 60 from yesterday's afternoon session. So it makes sense why it's hesitating or finding support around this 60 mark. So if you're going to go for a long here and you want to look for the 65 break, your stop would have to be sub 56, which would be right around here, kind of puts you underneath all of this. If you're looking for trades to find support, or you're looking for support and trying to find a long, this is the kind of analysis you would have to do, which is find where it's spending a lot of time. Time spent there typically means volume. Obviously, if the market's dead, the market's dead. But in this case, because the stock is very active, the longer it spends in a certain area, there's a lot of trading happening in that area. So if you're looking for a long, you find your setup, the trade looks like it's a long for you, however you determine that. Once it sets up on the long side for you, then where do you put your stop? Well, you want to put it below where it's kind of spending its time. And it seems like it's spending a whole lot of time between 59, well, underneath 60, all the way down to 56, 55 or so. So if you're looking for support, that seems to be one location. Now, with tech, not with tech, EV space, since we're going in that direction as well, a trade I took earlier today, see 41 shorts on XPEV.
Uh-oh.
So what happened here, is if I pull the chart back, you can see I did the exact same analysis on this stock where it kind of spent a whole lot of time around 41. So when we got underneath 41 today, I went ahead and took the short. As you can see here, it went all the way down to 40. Now, I messed up there, but it wasn't really my fault. I guess it wasn't really my mess up. I had put a bid to get out of half my
whose fault
position
was it?
at 40.03, and it only got as low as 40.05. I mean, that is what it is. It is what it is, but I can live with that. But in terms of analysis and trade, how do you determine that? Well, again, this is what the market's doing. You get, if you're looking for breakouts, get a break past that zone, and then you kind of just step in, take your trade. That's the same kind of setup on AMC. You're looking at that zone. If it breaks, then obviously you might have some downside, but if it holds, upside's your target right there.
I got a new position alert here. Actually, technically, we got two of them here. One of them go EV. I told you if it took out that top, I was going to get it. And I'm sitting there like, oh my goodness, I like the dip when it comes back into that 11 even area. So of course, I just doubled in. And immediately it looks like it's rejecting here now. I'm not too as concerned about NEO because that one popped in. And remember that low? I want that higher low, 45.25. 45 was a nice bottom this morning as well. So probably a little bit more concerned with the top end break in Go EV, whatever. I'm not going to say it. In Go EV, guys. But let's remember, we do have some cover in this range. And of course, I think we can get to that 12 area if it does push to the upside. I cannot let this get too far out of hand. If it breaks like that 1080, we'll probably dip out of this trade. Even though I did like that dip by a little bit lower, I really thought we had some room on that little bit of a breakout. NEO is basically flat for me right now. And then, of course, as these two names move to the upside, Go EV's pulling back in now. That means Ride is once again testing this 525 level. Now, keep in mind, yesterday's flush, this was a good level, this 1030. That's why I like it on Ride. That's why we shorted it here instead of trying to catch the top, guys. That's what it's all about. Go to that higher time frame. And then AMC is still trying to make that move into 60. This is kind of setting up to give you a 60-50 break here if we can get that before 350. Not a horrible place to add. It's not giving you any dip buy. So if you want to take any kind of a break here in the afternoon, it's probably going to have to be at that 60-50 mark. Otherwise, just hope and pray you can catch a 58 dip. Brendo?
One from the morning, guys. Back at an interesting spot here. Remember this Alfie Incorporated, still 65%. We actually halted back around 1 o'clock, 1:15 to the downside. But right back to this, once was resistance support, now possibly resistance. Looks like it wants to test higher, though, again, for Alfie, guys.
It better be resistance. Man, I'm short at 547 there, Brendan. I know you knew that, but it is what it is. If that one breaks and holds bid past VWAP, that's one that I cannot hold, especially when I'm sitting here in Go EV moving. I still have AMC I'm watching. I want to get a dip in that, and I got NEO. So a few more positions than normal. I don't know if I want to hold on to that Alfie. If it holds a bit above this 75, which it hasn't done yet, I'm just going to take that one off, guys. AMC basically doing nothing. But Ride, I knew this was going to happen. That eventually, when it couldn't take out VWAP, you get that little rounding, it's going to take out the top. So first short, good. Second time, same level, we get a little bit out for that scalp trade. Now I'm going to let it get towards that high. If it wants to take out the top, then we'll let it run into that one. But there goes, there goes Alfie. I'm going to get out of that one if we can even get out, even if I can get out in that bid. 90s it just went to. So Brendan, usually good luck, but on Alf there, you're going to see this. Breaking VWAP, I wait till it holds a bit above 75. I could have just taken a stop at 75. I try to see if it bids up there, and then they take it all the way into 90 by the time I'm getting out. The mistake earlier was not getting in on this rollover on the lower high. So if it pushes back into 650, I do want a chance to be able to take that trade. What is at least working, and this is like the only thing that goes, I'm telling you, it's like you ride the bull and it's only AMC. It's starting again. Like each one of these pullbacks, it's just like it tries to get to 59, it goes to 59.30. Each time, there's a little bit less of a dip here as it gets toward this 60-50 price. So it's either going to give you one of these patented flushes where you're probably looking at like 58.25 to go long on a dip and then catch like a dollar when it bounces back to 59, or you're looking for that 60-50 break. Now I'm already in position, obviously. It doesn't mean I can't add to it here. That 60-50 looks pretty enticing. And Go EV, I felt a little bit better going with the grain, hanging on to that, than fighting it over in ALF. So the dip buy for now looks pretty good at 10.13. We'll get an average price just over the quarter mark. And then, look, I'm going to cover some in front of 11.50. partly because we only have about 25 minutes left, but the other reason is because it's 10:50. And if I think 12 is going to be the level, then I'm going to get some out in front of 10:50, I'm going to get some out in front of 75, I'm going to get some out in front of 12 even. You guys know exactly how we're going to do it as day traders here when it comes to taking profits. Brendo.
Just seeing oil, guys, making quite a move today. This is going back to January of 2020. Last time oil was where it is today. January of 2020. Nice move here for some of the oil names. XOM, I just pulled up here, 3.3% day highs as we speak.
Yeah, you know, oil's been on quite the run recently. So a lot of the stocks that were kind of struggling earlier on when oil was down, where at one point, last year, was it the September contract? No, it was the March contract it was. Anyways, oil was negative at one point. I was just wondering, I was like, you're actually, the contract is trading negative. It was weird. It was the first time I've ever seen the contract actually trade negative. Anyways, now here we are, $70 in oil, $7 a barrel with oil stocks moving up. Exxon and the CVX and all those stocks are going up. Now, going back to GOEV, since everyone wants to talk about this, what can you really do with this? Because it's kind of blown through any and all levels that were nearby. So at this point, if you're taking this trade, be aware that you've got about 10 minutes left before an imbalance comes out on this stock, which could move it quite aggressively. I've got the imbalance locator here for you guys. So anytime you come to my screen, I'm just going to put it right here. This is the, right now we've got nothing. This is just an old ARCA feed that's being put up. But the update will come in at 350 exactly. So if you can come to my screen at 350, then you'll see this update, or even Neil's screen at 350, you'll see that update go through. Now, RIDE is kind of approaching the highs. Again, all these stocks are kind of gearing towards the close here. And you know when the imbalance comes out, it kind of moves the stock a little bit. Well, so depending on the size of the imbalance, of course. If it's a big imbalance, you're going to see this thing shoot right up and right through any sort of resistance you have there. And the futures, of course, are starting to fall off here. I'm already long. This is okay as long as we can kind of catch support around this low 30 area. That's where I'm looking for some help here. 20 is a stop, but I am looking for it to slow down and catch a bid here. If it doesn't work, we might have actually a sell side bias, or not just bias, but sell side activity going right into the close, which is not going to be good for me, my long that I've got right now.
Come on, go EV. Like I should have something good for like go EV, like go EV. I don't know, but it sounds pretty dumb every time I try to think of something here. But it's trying to get back towards that top. It was a good dip buy, and again, sometimes it's just reading the tape a little bit here. Like I know below 11, it's probably in some trouble, but as it slowed down, I just picked that little 13 area to be able to get that long. Now, this market is starting to come in here, so I don't really like the idea. Obviously I took that NEO. It did not test 45. I would have had more shares. If this had bounced off 45, I would have been adding at 45.15, but it's now grinding towards that that higher low that it's put in. If it cannot bounce at this price or bounce off 45, there's no way I'm adding to this, and I'm not letting it break 45 even either. This is another one that could be, it could be imbalances coming out here. You don't want this one stopping you out on an imbalance trade there, and then you miss an opportunity to hold. Like if it does tick below 45 on a sell imbalance, decent chance it could recover unless it's a gigantic one. So I want to be patient about adding to this position if at all. Brendan?
Not much of a reaction yet in this, but Southwest Airlines, guys, apparently halting nationwide flights in the U.S. right now because of computer issues. So heads up if you are trading or in Southwest. Not, as I said, much of a reaction yet, but heads up on that, guys.
Good look. That's all we get Brendan to give you that news, guys, just in case. And look, maybe it moves, maybe it does not. ALF is still on that move. It's now heading up towards like $6. It just broke it a couple of seconds ago here and then came right back into 6. Now we're waiting for this 640 area. It looks like it's on the move. Man, if I had just gone long when I said I got out, if it holds that bid, I'd probably have a bit of a scalp win. It is what it is. I got a bunch of longs, 2 flat. AMC still can't break 60 even. But I think ALF is going to be that interesting short off of that 650 area if it can get there. NEO is still grinding towards 45, but there is another name here. Remember Lordstown? We're trying to be very, very patient with it. Of course, on the NASDAQ. We're trying to be very, very patient with this. I get stopped. It doesn't even move. Like I get my stop trigger when it finally breaks that level, and it goes like 2 cents, and now it's hanging out. So I have this funny feeling that it's probably about to slam down, and I would have missed my shot to get that nice little short. I don't want to have 4 or 5 positions with less than 20 minutes to go. I try to think about pairing things off as opposed to adding too much in here. But there is one other name that I've been sort of tracking here, and I'm kicking myself over. TRCH For those of you guys who are watching this one in the morning, it was a good breakout to the long side. I did try, it was stupid. I tried to short here at like 10:30 before I got back into the long off VWAP and then the long break at 550. I was all over the short at the top at 6, but I took way too many shares out on the way down thinking it was very strong. It was not. I'm looking at this. If this stock breaks $5, this could be a bit of a bear sign going into tomorrow. If it holds this price and then gaps but can't break 625, you're probably looking at a decent short in tomorrow's action. So I'm watching this torch because 5 looks like, TRCH, because I think 5 is going to be a monster level here, guys. And for those of you that are missing Sean, he will be here after the show. I mean, he taped the trade of the day on AMC, and obviously there's some fantastic ones on AMC. We all had some good longs in the morning, but we're going to talk basically the same thing. We had this long off of like 58. There was also a bit of a breakout here as well if you would have taken it off the open through 59, guys. So Sean is going to be coming through with the video. Stick around right after we're done here. It is on AMC. It is the best ones. Was it? You know what? It might not have been on AMC. Because he had another really good trade. I'm just assuming it was AMC.
DKNG. It was done.
I think it was DraftKings.
Yeah.
That was the other. You know what? And of course, you're absolutely right about that. I'm just thinking because it was so good on AMC, how could it not be AMC every single day? But there was another bad one. DK, and by say bad, like I mean good, by the way, kids, if I can even get it to NASDAQ. There we go. I mean good. It was a good trade. It was the short when the news came in. I actually had this short again at this particular price where it's doing absolutely nothing right here. But this was the news. The news dropped, and you could have actually had this bounce at 48 even. So that short was fantastic. It bottomed out at 44.5. So that's another good one. You'll see his execution slightly better than mine. So that'll be a good one there. There was a great AMC trade, but I guess we can't do AMC every day. Although when it moves the way it does, it kind of feels like you got to trade what wins, and you got to trade what moves. That's what we do around here. So if the trade of the day is the same thing, it's about rinsing and repeating. When you're day trading or you're trading in general, you can't give a damn about how you make the money or where you make the money. It's about the fact that you do. You could think what you do is boring, but if it gets you paid, who cares? If you do the same thing every day, rinse and repeat, and it gets you paid, you shouldn't care about it. You're in this business to make money, or otherwise, why are you trading? I mean, it's fun, but come on, we're here to make money.
Yeah, I kind of second that sentiment there. Whose trades are the most boring? Mine. Mine take forever to work, but I'm okay because that's my approach. Everyone has a different approach, and not all of them are exciting. So unfortunately, or maybe fortunately for everyone, there's an approach out there for you. Whatever that is, just got to find it. And sometimes you kind of just try different things until you figure out which one works for you. Right? Since we're talking about stocks that are hot right now, AMC being one of them, CLF, that was in the news today, right? So let's just kind of go through the action here. I'm not doing any stocks, any current moving stocks, because given the time that we have left, it's about 18 minutes or so, and the imbalance coming out in 8 minutes, I'm not going to be taking any more positions. There's way too much risk with that. So I'm just going to go over stocks that I'm seeing in the chat that people are talking about, and maybe some sort of technical setup that I can kind of identify for maybe tomorrow's trade, right? CLF here. You see this action around 23.20, just above 23. There's a lot of sell side activity up there because there was previously some buy side activity going back to the 10th and 11th of June here. So it makes sense why it's hesitating up here. So if you get above 23.50, you can expect some form of a base to be formed because you then get the support of all of that volume. Because at the end of the day, resistance and support is just, at the end of the day, volume. It's volume, whether it was on the buy side or sell side. So you just have to identify where the volume is going to be sitting. It seems like there's a lot of volume sitting here just above 23 up to 23.50. So if you get that breakout tomorrow, even, we're 70 cents away today. What are the odds? Depends on the imbalance, really. But if we get above there tomorrow at 23.50, I think you then really have a chance to take a shot at the high here, which is around 24.70 or so. So that's the setup I would be looking for on CLF, given the time frame that we're working with right now, with not a whole lot of time left. And futures, of course, are starting to turn back around. You see that support. We got that support we were looking for right in the low 30s here, 42.34, 42.33, and now here we are back towards 38. Now, if we can get above 42.43 and we get a positive imbalance, you're going to see this thing go towards the 50s. That's kind of a lock. And you saw what happened yesterday too. Yesterday's close looked like that. Let me just pull up the chart here, right here. It just looked like that. That was a run you got yesterday towards the end there. So you had that 17-point run towards the close based on, it looked like it was program-related activity, but still quite the run. You can see that kind of potential happening potential setting up if we get all of the kind of factors in play towards the end of the day today, and you may have another 17-point run.
That's what we hope to see. But I'd love to see a run because I just got some more of that Neo here, and I'm pointing at my level 2 in Neo. You can't tell what I'm doing there. Look, Alf, we did have that stop out. I was shorting it off of that 550 level. I stopped at a VWAP, probably gave up an extra 50 cents. That sucked. But immediately told you guys, hey, look back to this lower high at that 650. That's what I want to wait for. When it presses up into that range, I'm going to short the turn. So there it is, guys. I shorted it at 638. I actually tried to get some shares in the 40s, but I mean, when it turned, it was pretty fast. And then the spread opened up a couple of pennies there. So I was able to quickly get some out down there for like a 30-cent win. So I don't know, we'll drop the money thing because that's what I like doing. But the other thing that didn't happen, well, I'll show you winners and I'll show you the losers as well. Go EV. I guess crashing the plane is probably appropriate there. Try to get that little bit of a breakout. Gave myself some room to buy the dip. I mean, the price that I bought the dip in is about the only thing good about this trade. Then spikes back up, cannot take out the high. I stop at 11. I could have stopped it at 11.10 and saved 10 cents. I wanted to give it a little bit of extra space. It does not go. It does not work out. Neo is trying to bounce off 45, but I'm running out of time for that one to work. And this is the same thing with AMC. I know there's a couple of, I saw, when I came on, I was sort of early in the chat there, and I saw a couple people were talking about AMC positions. Like maybe you had the long off VWAP and you're not, like you're swing trading it, or you're only getting in once, you're not actively trading like us. So you're thinking about what should I be doing with my AMC here. Okay, fine, like we're not gonna close, we might not close above 60. We might not get back into VWAP, but it has held 55 and 57. So the question you're asking yourself is, are you willing to risk to that level? I mean, the chance that it gaps down below 55 or 57, I think that's a little bit unlikely in a gap. So you should know whether, well, if you can't get out in the pre-market, then maybe you consider trimming your position. If you can cover pre-market in your trading, you have those levels to work with. So if you're long at 61 and you can stomach 10%, that would still be an okay hold, because I think that next level up, like we were showing this morning, before you run into any sort of real trouble here, it would have been up around this like 69 area, than that 75, 76 high. So there is still something there. I'm not sure this is completely done. It's consolidating off this 55, 57. So if it can hold this level, you got to think we're at least testing back into some of those highs. So make sure it works within your risk to reward. Obviously, as a day trader, I'm in a different boat. I'm getting out of this no matter what I do. Whether that's it breaks down here and I'm covering at 58 for a 50-cent win, when I held this like $3 in the money off the low, that's a completely different ballgame. I'm holding the last 20% of that position either way. So, at the end of the day, you have to have your own plan. Hopefully, you can generate one before you get into that position. That's going to be the ideal, so that you're never sort of stuck holding it. Like if you didn't want to hold it overnight and it was only meant to be a bit of a day trade, then turning it into a swing, I think, is always a bad idea. But if you're sort of in that boat already and you're going to do it, just have an idea what your risk is going to be and that reward before you make that final decision. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully Alf can crash land on Melmac here instead of just holding out at $6. And if you don't get the Melmac reference, like I'm old, so like the 80s, I watched TV in the 80s, so I was all over that show. It was fantastic. There was even a cartoon. It was pretty good. But the stock, I want to go down. It's holding up pretty nicely, and if this thing closes above $6, this has gap up and fade trade written all over it tomorrow morning, but we'll see. We're not there quite yet. I'd like to flush into VWAP right now, given that I have a minute and a half or 2 minutes until the imbalances come out, and I'm staring at Neo here because that's the one that would give me the most pause at 350.
Yeah, one stock that is coming off here, that Go EV, is kind of falling off a little bit here, so that's something to keep an eye on. I'm also keeping an eye on the futures. They are getting quite excited here. They are going towards these highs. Well, not highs, but at least the intraday move towards the 42. So I'm going to see if we can actually get some acceleration towards this top. And if we can, I think we really have a chance to get going again, like I said, towards the 50s there. Neil?
Yeah, I almost got into this more shares like Go EV. Like it just popped, and again, like right to 650. There was a bit of an offer there. Like it wasn't a huge one, but it was enough. And then immediately I thought I could get some. There we go. I actually just got to fill at 44. This is a situation. Like I know the top here is 680. I'm not giving an extra 30 cents. There's enough of an offer at 50s that if it breaks this, I'll probably just cover and get out of it on the top end of this trade. The time is the other aspect here that I have to be concerned with. So it either what's or gets off the pot. I don't know if I can actually say. I can say piss. Either pisses or gets off the pot. I'm probably gonna have to cover some at 25. And with less than a minute to go, I gotta have my bids out. So get some bids out in case it goes to the downside here I can cover, or we're going to get stopped out when 650 does finally break. And I don't even want to stare at it too much. I do want to make sure that you guys can see. I'm going to have a bigger imbalance locator here. I mean, nothing too crazy here, but I want to see what happens. Whether you see like a NEO on there, it's going to come in like 30 seconds or so. And we're definitely concerning ourselves with imbalances this week because it is that third Friday and you get those major rebalances that are coming in a lot of the markets. Of course, as I say it, we just rubbed off a 650 again. This is now 3 times it's tested that 650, and there's not a heck of a lot left on this offer, guys. We're running out of space. It's about like, I don't know, like 25,000 shares left on what was maybe like 60,000 shares on the offer. So at some point it's going to get chewed through. I will get automatically stopped out on a 650 break. There you go. You saw it break. You couldn't even see me get out. But thank goodness I did. And right at 650 is when it happened. I don't see anything too groundbreaking. Oh, there we go. I mean, Ford is a buy at 1.4 and Visa 1.1 and AT&T at 2, Verizon. These are not gigantic imbalances. I don't even see NEO on here. So if NEO's not going to be over 500,000 shares, it's not that concerning. If it's a symbol that you guys are curious about, just let me know. But I mean, NEO wasn't necessarily gigantic, but it did get a bounce anyway. So it might have been a small bid. And given the fact that I didn't see it on the locator, I'm going to take some of this pop out. Now I got to reload at 20s. And I started this position at 34, so I might as well just take some out flat, those 34s that we got, and then see if it can't ride to the high. I got AMC and NEO with 10 minutes to go. I don't have to add anything here. I've given up the ghost on that short, which, I don't know, I guess, do we relieve some pressure on Alf? Yeah. Like, is this, maybe I've made close to the top wick, and Alf is going to actually flush off that 650. I feel like everyone had their stop there. And by everyone, I mean I did. I don't know if anyone else did. I get stopped out, and maybe it's going to make that flush. There was the high of the day play. If this was earlier in the session, I would maybe have thought about giving it to that top. But with less than 10 minutes to go, it's just not something that's going to be in my toolbox there for a stock. It's making a move like this on volume, 540 into 650. I don't need it making a 4 p.m. run on me, and then I'm giving up an extra 30 cents for no reason.
Yeah, you know, it's crazy because we were waiting on the imbalance, and the imbalance came out negative, it looks like, because you saw that. Right where you were looking for that to kind of push through, it did the exact opposite and caught a sell imbalance. So it looks like that sell side resistance level kind of held. At least that's what it looks like right now. So what do you do at this point? Well, I'm going to flatten out my position because at this, I don't want this anymore. I thought we would get some acceleration towards the highs here. We did the complete opposite. So I'm going to try and get this out at 38 there. So I'm going to try to walk away from that. A lot of these stocks, ALF, towards the highs as the imbalance comes out. Looks like the imbalance on that was also slightly to the sell side, so you saw that fall about 40 cents or so. So it does look like overall the imbalance on the general market is to the sell side, which kind of makes sense given the market's down. You know, NASDAQ is down 0.65%, ES is down 0.2%. So it kind of makes sense why it would come to the sell side, but again, it doesn't always work like that. Another stock that actually popped off this number here is Moderna. That came right up. That's up $1 and change, it looks like, off that imbalance. So some stocks are popping, but more often than not, the general condition is to the sell side. Now, this is going to be interesting because at 3:55, we get the update from the floor for the actual dequote order. So the imbalances get updated once again at 3:55. Now, if this also adds to the sell side imbalance, making the imbalance itself bigger, then I think you're going to have quite the sell-off into the close towards the end of the day. Now, if it offsets the imbalance, we may just have a flat line, but we are going to see what happens in about 2 minutes or so as these imbalances get updated one more time.
I see a question, Aaron, here, and look, I'm looking at the AHT. I'm not seeing a tremendous opportunities with it. It's been sort of beaten up a couple of days in a row here. There was a washout long, but to me, like unless you get that washout long for the day trade, I mean, I don't love it. I mean, if you're gonna hold like a 550 in the daily, it's not exactly a horrible look. I'm not in love with the trade myself, and I just want to point out. This is a good note because I love this community, guys. And like you guys were looking, I saw someone, and apologies for not getting the actual exact name here because I'm just sort of following some of the conversation while trading. And someone saying, yeah, it's a bull trap 650. I wouldn't go long and out. I agree. Like I actually agree with that. I mean, I do have to get out because it's the end of the day, and I don't like the idea of having to hold it in the last 5 minutes or so. But yeah, that is a bit of a bull trap. And if this was an earlier time when it immediately pulled back in, I'd be shorting like 35 to 38. If this had happened, let's call it at like 1 o'clock or something, I would definitely be looking for that short in the same price and then trying to play that same rollover that I was doing a couple of times there. It's just a time thing. So when you know at 4 o'clock you have to be flat, you tend to take profits off in a situation like that. And as I say that, I'm going to go over to NEO here because I can now, this is kind of going to be this is the most annoying trade of all time, because I'm now taking another quarter off, and I flatted these at 30, the 34 is flat, and then I get like a 23, 24 long, 23 and a half long, and I'm basically getting those out for a couple of pennies. I'll probably lose on the rest of it because NEO just can't go. AMC, barcoding. This is not really barcoding, but it's just this cluster here. It looks like we're not getting any kind of a break, so you can throw that one out the window. The only good thing I will say of AMC, wipeout long. It was a wipeout washout long here down at 57 area, and it has been able to hold all these successive higher lows without making a flush. So that's the positive that you want to take away from this one. Outside of that, since that ugly break at 64, I know because I wanted a 65 break and I keystroked it at the top 64.50 and paid the price for that one. We were able to make it back because of that bottom. At least we're holding this 59 area. I would much rather we're holding a 60, much stronger, because 60 was a key fail in yesterday's price action. So the fact that we're below that 60, not the best sign in the world.
Yeah, here's 355. We'll go with Brendan, and we'll come right back and we'll check this imbalance. What's up,
A couple of minutes, guys, before we wrap things up for the afternoon. We might as well have a quick look here at some earnings. There are a few coming up after market tonight and before the open tomorrow.
Oracle is going to be, I think, a bit of a trap play. It's been such a good name. And I even said, like, well, look at that ugly wick on the chart there. Whatever. It didn't trade down to 77, but that's not real. It has been trending to the downside. I even mentioned it's worth it. If you haven't had any profits on the way up in a name like this, when all these techs are under pressure and you got the Fed meeting tomorrow and yada, 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 not a horrible idea to trim something like an Oracle, which could find yourself right back another 4 or 5% to the downside. Even with a beat, that's going to be on the cards for a name like this. So it is what it is. I already said in NEO that we have no choice but to get out. So with 4 minutes now to go, you don't care about a daily chart. With 4 minutes to go, I was able to get some out for a scalp, and I'm making like 3 or 4 cents on these trades here on NEO because these were at like 23 halves that I got. So there's nothing doing here. I'm actually just going to punch out at 23, conclude that trade. I'll hold AMC, if only because why not? Like, let's just see what happens. It's in the money from that bottom, so I can always just punch out at 58, and still the last 20% will be a winning trade. Looks like the bounce did not happen over here. Anything interesting in the futures there, Arun?
No. Not much changed off that 355 update. Futures still slightly to the sell side, so maybe kind of maintained, if anything. We are looking like we're going to kind of go to the sell side right into the close here. We are kind of accelerating a little bit now, especially in the tech index too. What I am seeing though, just to point out here, I've got the imbalance locator just out for you guys, just to see the top names here. ET, sell side, 3.1 million shares to the sell side, and Ford, 1.2 million, and that's the only two stocks. Those are the only two stocks that are above 1 million shares at this point in time, which says this is a small imbalance. Towards the end of the day, this is small. Even though we are getting some acceleration in certain stocks, for the broad market, this is not as large as you would like to have to do anything with, kind of to get an understanding of how we want to close the day. But right now, we've got 3.3 million shares on ET to the sell side, and Ford has 1.2 million shares. But Ford is also a very cheap stock, so you really aren't going to get a whole lot of movement on Ford. But apart from that, futures, all you can do at this point, with my position at 38, the stock's trading at, or the contract is trading at 36. I'm just looking to bid my way out as we go into the close. At this point, I'm not going to hold till 4:15, even though the futures market does close 15 minutes after the stock market does. I'm not going to bother holding on to this because it does look like it wants to stay within this range, at least for now, unless, in the final minute we get some sort of acceleration in one direction. But for the time being, I am looking to get myself out. I'll hold on as long as I possibly can to let the stock market influence the futures. And then if it gets to that 4 o'clock time period and the futures aren't really going to get to my mark, I'll just flatten my position wherever it happens to be at the time. If it's 34, it's 34. If it's 38, then I'll happily walk away flat on this position.
So obviously wrong about Alf. That's heading to like 680 pretty quickly. So there you go. It actually goes to the upside. You guys are like, get out, Neil, at 69. Get out at 68. 58. Get your dollar on AMC. I did take exactly $1 on the last of those shares there. Keep in mind, like guys, I actually had the bulk of this position out at 130. I was holding for a 60-50 break there, looking for it to go upside. Maybe even looking to add on a VWAP break. So if I was holding still half of what I had on that dip, I probably would have taken some out, $1 and a half higher than that. As you guys can tell, Randy is in the building. Usually when he's here, there's like Timbits at some point during the day. I'm just going to throw that out there, Randy. But he's always a lot of fun. What, man? You bring Timbits every single week. Look, it's one of those things, you get used to it. I love Timbits. You guys know I have a sweet tooth, and Randy usually brings them, of course. I'm not saying he has to bring them every single time. I'm just saying he has to bring them every single time. So we got the bell coming up in 30 seconds. Do not go anywhere because we have Sean's trade of the day. I saw him in the chat for a couple of seconds there, so what's up, buddy? He has his trade of the day in DraftKings. It was a banger this morning. Pre-market trading. That's the best part about it, guys. Learn about trading in the pre-market. Stick around. Arun, thank you, of course. Fantastic job filling in so you guys can see the futures. Randy is on the bell. I just say don't break the bell, Randy. Try not to hit it with your head, and if you do, tap it rather gently. AMC back. Not yet, man. 3, 2, and 1. Now, see when it goes to 0, that's when you tap it, dude. I deserve that. I deserve that. I called him out for not giving the Timbits, and so there he is. Randy's now not happy with. We're all joking aside. He's always fun with the bell there. AMC bounces, so look at that, guys. I almost made bottom wick of that move. We bounced back up to 59, so I cost myself 50 pennies by getting out, but still a positive and solid day on AMC. And Alf just broke 7. That stock is going nuts. What?
All right, guys, we'll wrap it up at that. We were here for 45 minutes. The market did essentially absolutely nothing. When we sat down, it was negative 0.19. We are finishing the day negative 0.19. Just ticked up negative 0.2. So not much to say for the overall market in the last hour of the day, but definitely some interesting moves as far as individual names are concerned. We'll check back in with the squeeze stocks tomorrow. Oracle coming up. We have DraftKings, Sean's trade of the day coming. Don't go anywhere. That's coming up any second, guys.
And right before we get out of here, I mean, wow. So yeah, Alf makes that move. It just broke the high. It looks like it got to 735. So maybe it wasn't a bull trap after all. And whoever wanted to go long, I hope you did and made a little bit of coinage. It was a fun one today. As always, I want to thank the entire team. Of course, yes, including Randy. He had some jokes around there. Maggie and Lucas doing a fantastic job. As always, give a little bit of a wave. See, I'm telling you, it could be a little cleaner over there. I'm a bit of a stickler about that. I'm kidding. For the entire team as well, Miss V, doing what she does, always, hard at work. She's not on camera right now. There she is. Give a little bit of a wave. She's on the camera still. And of course, thank you for filling in, Arun. Great insight, especially in front of Fed Day. And of course, for my man, Brennan Wickens, I'm Neil Roberts. Sean Cattina was in the chat. I don't know if he still is. What's up, buddy? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Trader TV Live. Stick around for the DraftKings trade of the day, and we'll see you in the morning.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.